Good morning, cruel world. Alright, it's like 10 o'clock, and I am more tired than I should be. So yesterday, we decided that we were going to take a trip to go pick something up that we needed for a project. It was supposed to be like a 4-hour drive, but we had to pass through like 4 or 5 different cities, and it just turned into a long drive. So let's talk about it quick. We went to pick up this Ford 223. These come out of like early 1960s projects. This one came with the engine and the trans and a whole box of parts and a radiator and all of that. Now, we don't post about it much on this channel, but you might have seen glimpses of a project every once in a while, which is a 1960 Ford Fairlane 500. That's a 1-year production car. It's a very rare car, which means you can't actually find parts for the car. So 3 months or so back, I found a guy online up in Michigan who is selling an engine that matches my car. And more importantly, it has the intake for my car. The intakes are very specific, okay? The filter boxes are very specific, and I needed one. And the last time I found one online, it was going to cost me like $150 plus shipping to get it here. It was going to be $200 for me to get just this intake. And so when I found an engine for sale for $250 for around 4 hours for me, I messaged the guy. But middle of summer, with us doing emergency response stuff and racing, is not the time frame where I can take out a whole day or 2 days or a weekend or whatever to drive up and pick up an engine. So I asked him to hold it for me, and he agreed to it, which is amazing, okay? It really highlights the good that's still in the car community today. We talk about the car community all the time and how it's at a downfall from where it was, but this right here shows that it still can be good, and that's because this guy held it for me. He didn't change his price, and when I showed up, he actually threw in more parts than what was originally talked about. This engine came out of his car when he decided to V8 swap his car, but it's a kind of a rare engine. Okay, they used them in a lot of things. They used them in tractors, and they used them in all sorts of stuff like that, but I needed one that ran good. I have one, but it's just in really rough shape. Like the lobe on my fuel pump is gone. It's just like deteriorated, and so on and so forth. And this engine, he maintained very well. He talked about how he had the starter rebuilt, and he talked about all these things, and how he's rebuilt the car, which we have wrapped last night. And how he built, an intake or an exhaust manifold and so on and so forth. And he's had, pretty much everything on this engine rebuilt and gone through. And it came out of a running, driving car. Alright, so I just dug that box of parts that I was talking about. Here's that beloved intake that I was talking about, that I wanted so bad for years and I searched for. And it hangs off the side of the engine. Okay, the way this engine sits in the car, it sits too high for a traditional filter to go on top of the car. So they did a big hang off the side filter box like that. And when I got my car, it didn't come with one. And when I searched for one, I couldn't find one. And every time I would see a car to show that could have came with this motor, any Ford Fairlane from the time, I made a point to hunt down the owner and say, did you engine swap it? Do you have the original filter box? And they never did, but I needed that filter box, okay? And it does look nice hanging off the side of here, so I wanted that. Oh my gosh, it's days later, and I never finished that video. Hold on, guys. All right. So what this goes in, that engine, you can see there's still engine in this car. That's not the new one. That's the old engine. It's a 1960 Ford Fairlane 500. Mine's a Ford Fairlane 500. Edsel made a version of this car. There's a bunch of versions. Fairlanes and what's the other one? Galaxies. Okay, they're all the same car. Mine happens to be a 2-door Fairlane 500 coupe. They made a convertible version. They made station wagon versions. This is a 1-year production car, guys. This is so hard to find parts for. I actually started the 1960 Ford, Edsel, whatever, all for this body style Facebook group because people could not find parts. It's really that hard. So this engine goes in here. It's a Ford 223, big old cast iron beast of an engine. They say you can't kill them. They put them in tractors and all sorts of stuff. I got that one because it came, one, with a filter. I really needed a filter. It was a very serious situation where I had to have that filter box and I couldn't find one. But most importantly, it's because, you know, you never know what's going to go wrong on these things, and you just can't find parts for them. This is one of those cars that if I look up parts for, I type in 1960 Ford Fairlane, nothing comes up. Not for the interior, not for anything. I actually have an engine rebuild kit back here for that engine that I finally hunted down, but generally they don't sell the parts for that car. It's, you know, I can't go into O'Reilly and ask for parts. It just doesn't exist. So this is what it looks like. They make great lowriders. We are making a lowrider out of ours. My car's been apart for a while because, well, I took the brakes apart and the brakes were powder on the inside and I needed new parts. And again, it's one of those things where you can't just find parts for it. I wanted an entire new drum assembly. I have to buy all the parts individually and put them together, which doesn't sound like a big deal until you realize there's like 4 different sizes of brake rotors for that car, and who knows which one it is unless you go through and measure all the parts out. I just have other projects, okay? Like my race truck sitting over here, which I now blew a tire on the other day. I got back from the racetrack and I decided to go out and have fun and blew that tire off. Or yeah, I blew that tire off in a hole in the yard. That's so fun. But I have other projects that need to get done. So ultimately that got pushed to the back burner. But I sold one of my projects recently, which I will regret in the future. It was a Nordic Green RX-8 GT Grand Touring. It's one of the rarest RX-8s that was ever built. But here's the thing. If I kept the RX-8, I was going to cut it up, wide body it, paint it white. Everything that made that car expensive, I was going to ruin. So ultimately, I was better off to sell the car, hunt down another one, and start from there. I sold it to somebody who wants to keep it Nordic Green. I sold it to somebody who wants to build it for what it is, and I respected that. So I got it out of here, gave it to him at a reasonable price for what it was. It was a very rare car. I'm going to regret that. I know I'm going to regret it. I'm going to regret it when I can't find a car with a perfect body, can't find a car with a perfect interior. I'm going to regret it. And I know I am. But whatever. So be it, okay? So, yeah. I'm rambling. So, that's what it goes into. So, we have the new engine. I'm not sure if we're going to use the trans, but we'll definitely use the engine. I might rebuild the trans. We'll see how that goes. And then obviously the box of parts that goes with it. A great person, wonderful person from our 1960 Ford Fairlane group just got in contact with me. He said he replaced all of his brakes on his 1960 wagon with discs, and he's going to send me his drums. So that's good news. So that's what's pushing us to get back into this project. Actually, the engine is what pushed us back into this project, and now getting that message about the brakes today, I'm ecstatic. So yeah, that's what it's going into. So expect that project to be a focus here, but we are making it into a lowrider. It's just going to be slammed, drop, traditional lowrider with cut springs, flipped axles, nothing insane. When people talk about lowriders today, there's a lot of misconception about it has to be hydraulic, it has to be air, and it doesn't. Their first lowriders literally put concrete or bags of concrete in the trunk to slam the car. So static is still very, very much a traditional lowrider, if not more traditional of a lowrider style. So that's what's going to happen with that. We're going to have fun with it. We're going to have a good time. So get out there and build cool things. If you know about a super rare car, let me know about it. I want to hear about it. I love rarities. When I got out of the military, I went to school for classic restoration, focusing on concourse restorations, and rare cars really caught my interest. Everyone loves their 68 Camaros, everyone loves their 65 Mustangs. I love the cars that you will never see again when you go back to a show. Like a 1966 Charger. Whew, that's a beautiful car. Volvo back car. Most people don't know about it. So get out there, build cool things. Let me know what you got, and hashtag HC Racing. And most importantly, have fun and have a good day.